approved after the fact, though.
Well, but I'm saying it's approved, whether before or after, but the ones, if we start looking at the rest of them, it's there, okay?
So if someone puts one in, and it's already there,
No,
I would tell them no, when they come
because you're the mayor,
four or five,
because you're the
all
current
scattered
mayor,
all through there.
and if anybody puts a manufactured home that's not been approved, the current mayor is gonna slap an injunction and get the police to get them to get it removed. Part of what we're trying to do, and I don't wanna make sure that we do that, we have new city leadership, we have new people who work in the office that should be keeping track of these things that are going on. So we can't talk about what happened 5 or 20 years ago, we can only talk about what's happening today. And so I'm pretty sure if somebody moved a mobile home in, that the mayor and city staff would be on it and have that mobile home removed. And so we don't want to talk about what ifs and all these because we know that everybody is on top of that. But how do we now move forward? Or even, Mr. Mayor, someone does that this weekend. What is our process? But we should have a documented process on, you say, hey, I send the police out there and they have Mr. Kerwin, what is the legal process that we should have as far as the mayor sends someone that says you have 48 hours to remove this, da-da-da-da-da, like, that's what we should be trying to
You can
come
issue
up with.
citations or 2,000.
but let me ask you this though, okay? Let's say someone did that, and then they did what Ms. McCardle did. They submit an application. And let's say hypothetically it's in Rosewood, since we say we didn't change the zoning, we just changed her property. Let's say someone
We
puts
changed it
one,
with the intent of changing.
why can't we just put that on the agenda to change the area?
Because we're circumventing the process. We already just said we want the comprehensive plan and we want the zoning map to change. So if that's the will of that community, that will come up. Why are we jumping ahead? We can only change if one person comes in and says, this is my property and I want this change. One person, not the whole area. Leave that up to the comprehensive plan and leave that up to the people to bring that will bubble up, and then we can do that. We can't.
What I would like to see us do is something that just makes basic sense.
Okay, and that's.
If we want to change that top yellow R1 to GC, then let's just change that entire area, not stick something on a corner in it. If we have a system, and the council, long before me, and maybe some of y'all were here, they set that up as a zone. We have an application that says zoning application. Doesn't say property
Is this what you're
application,
talking-
it says zoning.
Is this what you're talking about?
Any
just giving an example.
particular example.
Because the example that you picked out, there's 4 different types of housing in there.
Because there's no procedure.
And businesses
Yeah, and it's becoming
that
a
was not
problem.
approved by anybody.
Yeah, but this is part of what we're trying to resolve. And
I
this
know you
goes back.
didn't come up with a
This goes
process.
back to Mr. Mayor.
Mhm.
If someone brings something in the community, so like what is the example you use when you shut down a tire shop? What is the process? So someone brings in a manufactured home, someone has something that doesn't have a permit. What is our process so now people know because again, like, so if there are down that where the yellow is, there's some people operating businesses. Do they have, they can have a home and have their business, but they should also have a permit if they're doing sandblasting or whatever they may be doing, so people know what they're doing in case something happens. And so
Regarding the tire shop, which is a good example, when we had some time and started looking around and things like that, I realized that it didn't have a permit, it had been operating for years, and I brought in Bureau Veritas, they didn't pass inspection. So that's why the current one wound up leaving, because we was putting pressure on them, like you started illegally, and it's kind of like what you said, they knew what the zoning was or didn't check with the city, that whole disrespectful process. So when the new one came in, Mr. Garza, I believe it is, well, what I told Mr. Garza and Mr. Martinez, the owner, was that it didn't pass inspection, and you took it upon yourself to open up a business in our city, and you didn't respect us enough to come out here and request a permit application, which is the process. So I shut them down. Mr. Martinez says, I've been operating an auto sales there for 10 years. I said, great. We don't see a copy of your permit, and we don't have a copy of your automobile sales license. I haven't heard from him since. So he's been operating the illegal auto sales and doesn't have a dealer's license, which is how we get taxes on the sales, and
So
the state knows these things are going. But that's what happened. We've been trying to follow that process of making sure at least they were
Can I
legitimized,
comment
if you
on
will.
what you just said? Okay, as part of the comprehensive proposal that we're doing, we're bringing in a list of categories, and one is a list of ordinances that we recommend to help regulate what we're trying to do. We said earlier something about, we are calling this area Central Business District, and we have some recommendations of what we want done in there. And then, if there's a developer that comes in, or you want to hire a developer to come in and do something, now there's some directions. We need roads through here and different things, especially some way of circulating through there. If a developer just comes in and fill all that up with businesses, and there's no way to get around, the fire trucks can't get in and out, there's no.
Isn't that the old Clark property?
Oh, right, that's,
Yeah, the university developing that with streets and everything.
well, that's fine, as
But
long
we
as
got-
they do
he's
it, as long as they satisfy the city's conditions.
Correct, well, that's what I was gonna say. He's saying, part of this process that everyone needs to, the business owner, the university, does not get to circumvent our process. A developer could come in and say, I'm gonna build 10 streets. We still gotta make sure the standards and the materials they're using to build the streets, the width of the streets. Why? Because at some point, will happen like happened before. A private developer could say, hey, I now want to sign an agreement with you to give you the streets, which means the city would then now pick up street maintenance. But if the developer put in poor streets, case in point, Brookside, the city say, no, we don't want them streets. Now, another example, the city took Brookside's, was it sewer or, they put in a lift station. That lift station was a private lift station. The city brought that in because of, again, all the owners maintaining it because it was up to standards and code. So we brought that in our inventory. We didn't have to pay for that. But the streets, we said we didn't want to take that because the streets weren't up to standards. Because again, if we bring in now these 10 streets, now we got to make sure that they're maintained, gravel, da-da-da-da. So when the university or whoever builds anything, when they come in to TxDOT, the TxDOT's, their streets are maintained to the standard. And so we just got to make sure that our process applies. And so I think Mr. Brown is saying that even if on the Clark property, we will need probably some streets that connect back off of Owens Road. So where do we have in our plans a proposed 10-year down the line frame to be able to get from the Clark property to Owens Road without having to come through there, and you can come back on the other side. Now, I don't know if it exists, I don't know if it's planned, but we're just saying that these are the things we need to be thinking of, things that are not here right now, and the decisions we make are for future growth, and then we use our zoning tools as like for people to deal with day to day.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we are here for.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so back to what Jonathan Randall or Councilman Randall was saying. So first step was, now I know you had a 3-point plan with the 3 steps on the thing. You said update the map, which, and I'm just making sure that we're all clear. The map, are you saying, I know you said you was talking about having a town hall meeting on Monday, right?
Well, just it's basically the same meeting that we're having now, where we actually,
Except
But
we have more
with
information.
updated map, right?
where we actually have some information to work off of.
Okay. Well, for one, I can't be there on Monday. Birthday.
Oh, poor excuse, Councilman.
Yeah. What was 2 and 3 on the,
Comprehensive plan, update the zoning ordinance, add members of planning and zoning, and redo the zoning applications.
But those of us who can attend, since it's planning and zoning's meeting, and
I'll be there on Friday.
Who will be
Okay,
there?
so-
How many people we have on Friday?
Their meeting is on Friday.
Their meeting is on Friday, correct.
At some point, we need to have a follow-up meeting for us to decipher the information that they put together and then make any necessary corrections that will collaborate their vision with our vision.
And I think, and I totally agree with you, I think once we let them give us something tangible to, work with, expand, see what else,
The conceptual
suggestions and
idea.
things like that, then we can schedule, but we got it in hand, maybe have a little, because one of the things we do is we may set a meeting, but like this thing, we haven't given you and the other gentleman and whoever else is involved enough time to get that done, and then we schedule, the meeting, so we have something to meet about, in a sense, in addition to what we're talking
Now,
about here.
we're treating both of the drawings, we have two drawings, one is a comprehensive development drawing, and one is the planning and zoning map.
Map update,
Now,
great.
both of those are being treated as talking tools to get dialogue between the two of us. And so you can question and suggest things, and we can go back and forth. And when we get through, this is not just our idea, it's the city's idea.
And so then that's the information that you're gonna take to Dr. Thompson after all of that's completed.
That's what I've given him already.
Okay, but you're saying that you wanna take the information that y'all are gonna have on Friday plus our dialogue, and then that's what's going to.
Well, when you look at that and you got a question,
Then we'll expand on what they
Yeah, we
produce
go
now.
back
It'd be
and
like,
forth, it would
it'd be
be-
like a working drawing.
yeah, it's a workshop.
But Dr. Thomas is developing the final map,
Well,
right? So when it's all
Okay,
said and done.
okay, when we leave on Friday, if everybody's ideas, I mean, if we bring it in and you say, okay, this is all right, we don't have any changes, you can vote on it if you want to.
Well, no, we
But
won't be, yeah.
I'm looking to get input.
right, we won't be voting on anything Friday, because that'll be like the first time we're seeing it.
That's.
So we wanna digest it, think about the discussions, take a
That's
look
the
at
idea,
the
that's
zoning
the idea,
stuff,
that's the
and
idea.
then come back, so that we all have time to, think about that customer.
Two things that came up to mind. Do we, and this, I know y'all think this is a strange question, but this is part of our cost thing. One, whatever map we come up with, which is our temporary map, which is either this current map, when I get an application and I get this map given to me, do we charge $1 for this? What is our cost?
We've got a part of where we are, to answer your question, because it goes into several areas. Council has been pointing out, and we've been going through,
Or 50 cents or whatever?
yeah,
But-
something for all these different issues we do where another city may charge something and we have nothing. Or the other side is some of ours are, the prices were set so long ago that they're, needing to be increased and things like that. But I would say no, because it's another one of those things. And again,
so that's something to discuss on Monday?
yeah, absolutely, because as Counselor shares with us, maybe what some other people are doing, gives us an idea whether we wanna go up or down. We know we won't be too far off. If that's what others are doing, then for that kind of service, then we need to be in that business
The
too.
cost to submit this, what is ours, and we need to also have and again, I'm not saying these costs need to be
Which is-
substantial, this is the zoning application. Like all these applications, there is a fee that's connected to it. What our problem is, we get a lot of people just doing things and asking for things because it's free. If I gotta pay $50 to submit this application, now I gotta be a little more serious. Now, when I get this application, I pay my $50, you don't charge them additionally for this because it's in the fee. But if I'm a citizen, I say, hey, now what we do, we have it online where they can print it out. But if they want a hand copy, colored copy, it's 50 cents or $1. And I think that will cut
So
down on some of the things that we have an issue with. But then also, it's people just want information. Like, if we have this map on the website and people label this in a PDF and they can just print it. And these things will help, but then when you submit this application, if they gotta submit $25, again, you get a little more seriousness of people. And that's not whether they get it or not. That's just $25 because
Refundable.
Is this online?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, there's a part of it that's left off.
The backside of the university?
The top of, yeah, right, well, White's Chapel,
Oh, the whole street, yeah.
yeah. In fact, it's been cut through with one of the.
Make sure you point that out to, Ms. Ferguson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thompson.
So we had
So the other question I had, I guess we'll wait to not even get into the money piece. I'm gonna move to the second comprehensive plan piece, but do we know, Miss, I don't even know, we don't even have, how much, comprehensive plan, it costs money. We gotta figure out whether, comprehensive plan can run you about 20,000 or more. We gotta figure out, like, we were creative where we were able to use, you try to tie it in with some sort of economic development or some sort of other thing, other entities doing their pieces and kind of connect it to where they can pay for a portion, but we're gonna have to pay for this. And so we know we have our budgets ending and we want to be able to allocate how much money we have available so we can make sure that we pay for this before the end of our year, which is September 30th, correct? Or is it September 30th? And so just keeping that in mind for everybody, that we want to allocate the money in this budget cycle prior to next one, so we know going in our new budget cycle that we're gonna have a new comprehensive plan and that money is already allocated. Or if we have to do what we normally do, because we ain't never normally had a lot of money, we may have to put $10,000 down before September 31 and then budget in another budget cycle $10,000 in the new cycle to get that 20. So I don't know what we have, but that's just a suggestion.
Councilman Rowland, are you suggesting we do a layaway plan?
No, I'm just saying we be smart with the resources we have.
Yeah.
And because it's gonna go through both
Yeah.
periods.
Yeah, absolutely. But I agree with you. I think, because the EDC can do so much, and if it's tied to economic development, and the emphasis, say, because like you said, Counselor, it's about where do we want maybe more businesses, do we want to make 290 all business? If we couch it in those terms, it can fall under EDC guidelines, and then it just covers some other things too, because we have businesses throughout the city. See, we've already got general commercial on University Drive, and now if we talk about, so now again, we're just tying it to and wrapping up the rest of it while whoever's doing it is doing it. So, no, I agree with you completely. We just need to take a look, because their mandates are many, and I don't think we take a look at them often enough.
Economic Development wanted to work with us on the comprehensive plan. I think that's a good idea.
So sure, and then that way you can tell them, suggest to them they pay for it, and when they bring it over to council, say, yeah, that's a good idea, we're gonna pay it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we allocate money for a comprehensive plan. The study will study our economic development and zoning changes for the city of Prairie.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we set aside funds for a comprehensive plan to include the study for the zoning in the city of Prairie View, where we want these businesses to go. You've heard the motion, ready for the discussion?
Are we going to be specific about the amount of funds, or are we going to, I mean, you can just say, you're saying.
Well, JJ wasn't here, so I think that one of the things that we were wanting to try to do for this meeting is to identify what we need and then backfill in, like, people and amounts. But we need at least start it, yeah, and then come backwards.
And then we still have to come before the council for approval, and we'll try to get maybe a couple of different quotes to see.
Because again, Mr. Thompson, I'm assuming he's doing the zoning piece, the guy that they're supposed
So
to.
he's doing a map for each one.
And Mr. Thompson is gonna give us some,
So he's gonna bring in
Estimated
a
quote.
proposal, I'm gonna ask him to bring a proposal,
okay.
and then I think you need an additional
Hold
proposal.
on, we got a motion on the floor.
Oh, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay, you need a proposal for the continuous update as we make changes, somebody has to make those changes.
Right.
Well, once they get them done nowadays, this stuff is all
It's on the computer.
on the computer.
Somebody
Right,
has
and
to
we can even decide, if we wanna do, like, let's say some Corel draw or something like that, then I have experience with that, as long as I'm working with him and
But we need to have I think, I get what he's saying. What is our, from us, like, the reason why I made that motion is because we're not doing that. Our job and roles and responsibility is to make sure that we have a procedure that connects to that. And so, if we make changes to this, we assume that once we made those, like Miss McCardo, that automatically would be updated in our zoning changes. So if the attorney wanted to come in and say, I want to see all the zoning files, we have a file with zoning files with the minutes already, just because all it is just stapling and put it in a file. And so, or scanning it. But I'm saying we got to have a process that say, once we make these decisions, what's going to happen. And so the mayor comes back. So our process is to say that with the comprehensive plan, we got to say, once we vote on these changes, they're going to happen within 30 days. The mayor's says that, hey, we may need 60 days. We say, okay, fine. But then the mayor's gonna say, well, it goes from this meeting, it goes to the city secretary, from city secretary to not a person, but it goes to a title that says the clerk is going to put this in the file and scan it to our zoning documents, and that's our process. And then we have, that goes back to our record retention. But part of what we need to be doing is figuring out from our view, how do we helping make this process complete, because everyone has a different role. But this is the part of it is we need to have the conversation to make sure that everybody has the resources and tools to execute in their role. And I don't know, the attorney, Mr. Kern falls in somewhere, but I kind of left him out. But you get what I'm saying?
Ms. Dickey,
yes, sir.
can you check with TML and see what they have listed on what other cities are doing with zoning process, zoning changes? The good thing is, this stuff is already being done. As council points out to us, and he goes out and finds, well, this is what this city does, and so we get to use that as an exemplar, so we're not starting from total scratch.
And I can
then as that
also
comes back,
contact some of the other city secretaries and see what they're doing and how they're keeping.
sure, we get a list of their paperwork. Someone wants a zoning change, this is what they give them, we can take a look, cut and paste,
And I
and,
think Council Rowland is on the correct track with the scanning, and we've talked about this many times, and how our new permit system can do more than that, can actually keep track of what a property is zoned. So when someone comes in, we can say, you're actually zoned.
yeah, well, that's why we got that, yeah.
We also, I don't know the technology or the system behind it, but just kind of piggyback, like at least our online map needs to be a live map where somebody can go in and whenever something changes and change the map online. We may only print out a big map every 5 years or so and say, this is the new zoning plan, but somebody should be able to go online within, 30 days of a zoning change and see what the zoning is, and that, for one, it kind of carries over to what he said.
Right, that's what I was talking about. Corel Draw, or even if it's a CAD program, those kind of things.
And again, see
some
what other
training.
cities are using,
Absolutely.
and if it's a program, we can get the same program, and if it works for other
I'm
cities,
sure there's gonna be some costs associated.
sure, but we'll check that out.
The two
So,
maps ought to
are
be
we-
the same.
are we-
Separate map.
are we looking at picking up on finding out after planning and zoning meets Friday? Are we looking to meet as soon as Monday after that, or do we want some time to see what they do? Especially since we know a couple of our folks can't make it, so,
Councilman Rowland proposed we could do
We
it before
do
the
the
city
9th,
council
we
meeting.
have a meeting on the 9th, we could just,
Okay.
maybe not 3, we could do 4, but we can do the same thing and be prepared, or we could
we'll
do
have
3.
information, sure.
Then we have a
Okay.
week and a half to digest it, but what time, we could just do it also then.
You said on
The
the,
9th,
Is everybody
Y'all
good?
said 4 or 3?
4. Is everybody good with that?
Mr. Kerwin?
Second
Four.
ward.
Mr. Kerwin, what was the third thing on your list?
I have update zoning ordinance, add members to the planning and zoning commission because they're not full yet, and then work on the zoning
So
application.
number 3 is update who?
The zoning ordinance. I don't
Where-
think it's been updated.
Where is it at? Do we have it?
It's, I mean,
Can we get it printed? Can we give it to us so we can?
it's
leave with it?
long, it's on, I mean, it's really long.
How many like pages?
Probably 50, I don't know, it's long.
So will we do it all at once or do it one at a
I
time?
mean, no, that's kind of like a longer, I don't think it's been looked at legally in a really long time. So, you know, when Leah was going out, she had said to me, one of the things you're gonna need to look at is revamping the zoning and the subdivision ordinance. And so we've done part of the subdivision ordinance at one point, but I have not looked at the,
So that maybe
The zoning.
move
So-
that
so
down
it's-
to the.
Yeah, it's online.
It's online.
And then maybe what we can do is look at the relevant sections, based on what we're encountering, because the whole thing may not need to be, but if there's some specifics, we need to add some meat
Yes,
to it, or totally just update.
yeah, and that's nothing that is like an emergency, that's just, you know, we wanna make sure if we're gonna be doing all this, let's make sure that your ordinance is up to date with state law and current and all of that stuff, so, I just don't think it's been, that was one of the things she had mentioned to me as she was outgoing last year.
If you can do us, certainly me, Counselor, a favor, I'd really be curious, I can't see other cities just upending what they've taken the time to designate as an area to build homes or businesses or apartments, and then changing something in the middle of the neighborhood. If we could just kind of check on that piece, because I'm just thinking, once we open that door, who do we say no to? And that's the concern, and certainly be a concern of a lot of residents. They were involved in picking this map, Rosewood notwithstanding.
Part of the process in a comprehensive plan, which is, it's not an easy process, so the time frame, so everyone knows, is not a month. The time frame is the comprehensive plan is validated once, it takes about at least 6 months, because we'll have several meetings that we'll put out where residents can come look at the map, come touch the map, see your street, make sure everything is good. Because just like how the example we have where with TxDOT just did some stuff in the road on Sandra Bland Parkway. Sandra Bland Parkway. After the fact, so people came to the meeting, but they didn't really, and then once it started happening, then, so the comprehensive plan is done just like that. And then we just gotta make sure that we're communicating, and these are some things that we can make sure we communicate to everyone else. You said something about the people on planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, and then Mr. Brown?
They're not fully staffed.
How many people should be on P and Z? And how many do we have, Mr. Brown? Because then we need to make an appointment.
Well, we need to, we replace, Mrs. Carter.
With the brother, right?
Mr. Anderson.
We formally, the place,
And,
okay.
Okay, I'd like to check with the other individuals to verify if they want to continue or not, but I'm thinking that we may have 2 new positions.
All right, so how many is it 7 or 9?
Let's check the
Mr.
ordinance.
We
Mr.
have
Kerwin?
2 alternates.
Yeah, Mr. Kerwin?
I'm looking,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm looking right now.
We just want to make sure we giving facts.
I have a question. So you just called out a meeting for the 9th at 4 p.m.
Mhm.
Is it going to be discussed on the same item that we have
Yes, the
today?
same as today's agenda, it's the exact same thing, except for we'll put it discuss and take action.
Discuss and take action.
Is that the date we had, that we just turned in?
No, y'all are still on, y'all are still.
Oh,
meeting.
that's a different.
This is the meeting after y'all's meeting, where we
Oh.
meet with y'all and communicate about what y'all did at y'all's meeting on Friday.
Okay. Okay, let me comment on something. Now, we're bringing in a list of suggested categories that we need ordinances to meet.
Now, are
Now-
these ordinances we don't have, or ordinances that need updating? See, we need planning and zoning to check the current ordinances and then make the appropriate recommendations, which we really appreciate, but if you're bringing one, we wanna know, do we have it and how that changed,
We
because
consider-
otherwise we got two
We
covering the same
consider
subject.
ordinances, the legal side and council, what we do is make recommendations of what you should look at for an ordinance.
Based on what we have, though.
Well,
See, we have stuff, and planning and zoning just don't act like ain't no ordinances there. Y'all need to take a look at the ordinances we have and say, this one doesn't cover this or something, and then get with legal and bring it back, because, no, you do have. Just like we wanna go to your meeting and digest before we say we want y'all to add this or change it. We want you to check
so
what we
you
have.
guys have gotten so formal that we can't just have a little.
Hello, why you think we in this predicament?
Meeting,
Because it was too informal. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I live in Rosewood, and I've been there for about 18 years. I live in a mobile home over there in the corner.
You live in a manufactured home.
Okay, mobile home.
Mobile home, he's got one of the.
I got a mobile home,
Yeah, he's got a mobile.
and it was grandfathered. And now the neighborhood is growing so fast, I'm concerned about more mobile homes coming in now, because I was told that mine was grandfathered. I've been waiting to see what's going to happen before I try to put more money in building a house. But what's happening right now, Mayor, is the other houses are coming. Now, my estimate is a manufactured home, double wide. They're doing a good job, with fence, nice, everything. But on the end here.
I'm glad you and that guy are not getting along, Ms. Johnson. You don't know, that makes my heart feel good.
So I'm
You
so
cutting
I'm
this
working hard
stuff
to be a good
now.
neighbor.
We
like
got
I
him
said.
cutting this stuff.
I work hard to be a good person and a good neighbor. Like I
Sure.
said, I've been doing a better job than reading the Bible 2 times. I love my neighbor as myself. That's what I'm
That's
trying
the
to
check,
do.
okay.
But now, let me tell you what's happening, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
There's a house on the end with a trailer in it on the lot. It's got 2 houses on one lot. But now on the other, when you come in on Rosewood, they've got 2 mobile homes on that lot. And the house is there, 2 mobile homes on the same lot. So somebody gonna have to start doing something about that, because when they see one house with that situation, they're gonna wanna put a mobile home on their lot too. So it's
We're on Rosewood.
right there when you come in, on the first street there, they got work on campus here,
That's the main street.
in maintenance.
When you first come in, you got houses down on the left and the church on the right.
Okay, but the first house on the left,
Oh, after you pass?
The new house.
the new
Pass
house,
Sharon?
nice home, but nice guy, but he got 2 mobile homes, 2 trailers on his lot.
Is it for living or like a trailer, like I
For
pull,
weekend
like
living,
I?
for weekend living.
Well, no, but you could, we gotta clarify, cause don't want you to leave thinking something different.
Okay,
I'm imagining when you say trailer, you're saying a trailer that is pulled by a truck,
but with wheels on it.
that on the weekends I can go take my family camping. That is not, from my understanding, in my home, I can have my trailer that I go camping on the weekend. I can't permanently live in this trailer, meaning
Water
day-to-day
hookup and all that.
water hookup and stuff like that.